Guys, can you hear me?
I got you.
Perfect. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. Sorry I'm late. Let me, I'm going to share my screen here real quick and get plugged into my, I haven't been on the run. Good to see. Let's see who we have. Let me get my reading glasses on so I can see who we have here. No, I don't want that. The scenes, get to see behind the curtain here a little bit. Let's see. I do have a PowerPoint. All right, how about that? I'm here. Almost. All right, now I'm really here. You guys here? Good.
Yes.
You can nod your head if you're on mute. You can just nod. Okay, Jill, I got your nod. Thumbs up. Good job. See that? And glasses. So just want to make sure I have everybody. Let's see. I got Zach, I got Beth, Maggie, John, Jill, and myself. Oh, and there's more. Jessica, Anna, Naomi. Naomi, you're in the next room, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Naomi and I are in the same office, but yeah, we're doing this virtually. I love it. That's good. And I've got iPhone 647876 something something. Who's that? Anybody? iPhone person?
Oh, that's Bob. That's me. I don't know why I'm on there twice. It's Beth Stevens.
Oh, hey, Beth, no problem. Maybe you joined by your phone and your computer, both audio.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Good deal. All right. All right, cool. So let's just disclosure, I'm starting a little bit late. I apologize. And I was just looking for my power cord. I just want another. Hotel and tell them to keep it for me. So 100K fourth session, and how many guys, anybody here that has not been to any 100Ks as of yet? Anybody? Naomi, I know you've been. Amber, you've been, right?
Yes.
Okay. Amber?
Yep, sorry, I had to unmute.
Nah, no problem. Everybody's good. And Jessica, is this Jessica Tijerina?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And we promised you for sure, one thing we want to cover is we promised you open house conversion, right?
Yes.
All right, see, and that's why you're here. I promised you that we would do that. So let's get down. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint real fast and we can go from there. So. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, now you can see my screen fully?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good deal. All right. So we're going to revisit, and Jessica, we'll start with you. So remember in 100K, in our corn planting, if you guys remember, we're going with the premise that this is not difficult, right? That we're going to, and we use an example of bank-owned open houses as our traffic generating event. Remember, this can be anything, right? It could be any place where you're in front of people. Now, technically, let's just do a quick aside. anywhere in front of people also means that it could be at the grocery store, right? The problem with a grocery store is that how do I transition from, do you think it's worth the cost of paying for organic celery to, hey, do you want to buy real estate? Right. So I'm not talking about that kind of face-to-face contact, right? Because therein lies the great conundrum. I could just go walk around the state fair and see people. Well, that's true. But the reason I like open houses in particular is because they're not only traffic generating events, but they're getting you in front of people that are ready to discuss real estate, or at least we are safe to assume that. Are you with me there?
Yes.
Right. So we avoid the whole conundrum of, okay, at my networking event that I decided to go to, how do I transition from, hey, isn't this a great pate, to, are you interested in real estate, right? So let's find ways that we can get in front of people to have discussions about real estate. I just want to start with that premise. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Jessica, you there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So once we're there, though, we got to get good at the next point. And herein lies a problem, right? First of all, is everybody having success in getting open houses if they want them? I mean, the 100K page has them loaded.
Yeah, I'm doing one this weekend with
That was not good. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah. Here.
If you go to the restroom, I'm just kidding. I don't think it was a toilet flush, but make sure you mute yourself. I don't know what that was. Who said they were doing one?
Amber. I'm doing
Amber.
a foreclosure open house.
Nice.
This weekend with a lender from one of the recommendations. I think it was John Lowe that recommended working with Anne French last time. So thank you.
Was that you, John?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think it might have been Anne French, but mostly I would recommend someone where I used to work, which is now basically Michelle Ziegler.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm
Cool.
not sure who it was.
It
But
might have been Joe Zucchero, I think, that had somebody.
yeah, it was a J, whatever.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Perfect. Awesome. So she had some additional, but by the way, utilize the 100K page if you're struggling finding REO lenders in particular that are willing to allow you to sit open houses, and that's what you're going to go with. Then reach out to some of these contacts that are on there because they've already raised their hand saying, yes, we will allow. All right. So may as well, why reinvent the wheel, right? If you got somebody there. So good for you, Amber. Have you done one before?
Foreclosure open house? No.
Yeah.
This is my
Okay.
first.
Perfect. That's great. That's great. You keep us posted and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll be in this case.
Jessica, very good. Jessica, since I'm going to use this as an example a little bit, the type of open houses you're having currently where you're not doing it or having much luck in converting, are they bank owned or are they regular open houses?
Regular.
Okay, perfect. Which is fine. I mean, as long as there's traffic, it doesn't matter, right? The reason I suggest the foreclosures because they generate more traffic, and the more traffic we generate, the better we're going to get at our presentation, right? It's there. Okay, so that's one thought you might want to tweak is if you're going to meet 4 people at a regular open house, but you can meet 14 at a bank foreclosure open house, you're automatically going to get better just by the number of chances, right? That you've had more shots at doing your presentation, and or the better chances that you're going to find of finding somebody that you can connect with that connects with you. So what kind of turnout have you been having, Jessica, at your open houses?
I mean, it can range anywhere from 1 person to 10 people.
Okay. All right. Very good. Cool. So so let me start the premise because Jessica on a thread on, I think, was it on 100K, Jessica, that you asked the question about conversion?
I think it was just us agents at FHI.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So just in full disclosure, having a little bit of trouble converting some of these people. I told her to be on this call and we could role play and talk about it, but be prepared because it might be a 180-degree shift in what most people might teach and or where you currently are in your thought process. With that being said, I want to be clear that what I'm about to show may not work for everybody because it may not fit their personality profile, right? It may not be what their comfort level is, and the way I present it may need some tweaking to fit what you would consider comfortable for you. All right. Now, I don't want to use that as an excuse to allow you to say, well, I'm just not comfortable with that, so I'm going to continue sitting open houses and not converting, right? It may take some stepping out of comfort zone a bit to get to a point where you have the ability to be either A, be better at converting, or B, not wasting your time trying to chase down people that you're never going to convert. I have learned that that's usually the bigger problem, is that we're too busy trying to think we've had this victory because we've got somebody to sign a sign-in sheet, right? And how do I put this gently? Take your sign-in sheets, wrap those around a Starbucks cup, take it to your local Starbucks coffee shop, and with an additional $3.75, you might get a cup of coffee, right? It's just those sign-in sheets. I've seen too many agents get too reliant on that as their crutch and think they've accomplished something by having someone sign in. Again, how do I put this? You're going to chase those people forever, right? And it's not, again, you guys might be different, and if you chase them long enough and enough people long enough, you might convert one of them down the road. But for me, I don't know where you are, but I didn't have time for that. I really didn't. My goal was every time I sat an open house, then one person I'm going to meet on average. Now, I didn't say I was 1 for 1. I didn't meet one every time, but I averaged one person every time I sat an open house that met 4 criteria. And you're going to get sick of me talking about the 4 criteria, right? But here are the 4 criteria for a buyer. If I'm looking for a buyer, they got to meet these 4 criteria. They got to be able to buy. They have to be willing / reasonable. All right. Their expectations can't be, hey, I want to buy something at 70% of market value. They have to have some sort of motivation behind what they're doing, meaning they're not coming to you saying, oh, yeah, you know, I might buy sometime in the next 30 years. All right. That's not good enough for me. I got bills to pay between now and 30 years from now. Right. And number 4 is they have to be loyal to you. 100% loyal to you, and not because they signed a piece of paper, but because they're going to be loyal to you. All right. And if you didn't write those down, they're on past 100K sessions. I go over them incessantly, right? Do them one more time. Able to buy, willing / reasonable, realistic. Number 3 is has a need or there's some type of motivation. And number 4 is loyal to you. So bear that in mind as we go through a role play. All right. So I'm not going to ask anybody to role play with me, but just listen to this and take it all in, and then we'll talk about it in a minute. All right. So I'm not going to ask anybody to go back and forth. I'm just going to pretend like someone's dialoguing with me, because every time I try and pick someone to dialogue with me, they either are too easy or too hard. Right. Because I'll just tell you, quite frankly, if I pick John, right? Hey, John Lowe, be my role play partner. Right. And he says, hey, John, you said your first name is John. I'm Bob McDougall. Stay away from me. I don't want to talk to anybody about real estate. You know what? And I say, hey, great. I get it. Yep. Feel free to look around. Have a nice day. That would be my total response. Right? I'm not going to go there with anybody. I'm not going to try and chase or force anybody. Or hi, yeah, my name is John, and I'd really love to buy real estate from you. You look like a nice guy. Can you sell me a home? Well, neither one of those are all that realistic. And if the first one is truly the case, just walk away, right? Just, hey, look, you know what? Life's too short to deal with you. Have a great day. I wish you the best in life, and I'll pray for your significant other. right? Kind of go through it. So I'm going to kind of role play more of a middle ground person, but you're going to learn quickly that I'm just going to figure it out and see if there's somebody that's worth me working with, right? Jessica, and I'll just speak to you directly, all right, because you asked the direct question. Shift your mindset from, I hope they want to work with me, to, boy, these people need to convince me that I should work with them. I told you there's the 180, right? And Jill, I see her pointing to her head, but it's mindset, right? It's all about the mindset that if you come across as needy, like you need them, they're going to think that they've got something that you need. And the reality is you have a knowledge base, the ability to help them achieve a goal. If they have a goal, right, you got to determine that first. They might not even have a goal. They might be just looking for, hey, look, I wonder what kind of floors match the kind of cabinets I'm looking to get. And I wanted to come look at houses. That's great, but there's a bath and kitchen store just down the road that has all sorts of a great showroom. You should go there, right? Not here to talk about real estate, right? So I'm just setting the game plan that's our mindset has to be there first. Are you with me? Jessica, I'm going to ask you to respond.
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. All right. So here we go. All right. So somebody comes in. First of all, when they're walking up the doorstep, the first thing I say to them, first thing in my mind is I say, hey, you know what? These people need me more than I need them. I say that sometimes even out loud. If there's nobody else in the house, said, these people need me more than I need them. I can be a solution for their problem. And I would pray for me, dear God, let me be a blessing to them today, period, right? And I'd finish with, and this is, again, you say, that's crazy, Bob. I'd finish with, these people have no idea how lucky they are to get to meet me in the next 5 seconds. And it's all about mindset, right? And it takes some practice, but it's true. I know you, Jessica. I know that you have a caring spirit. I know that you have a knowledge base and can help people overcome a problem. And so when you believe that as much as I believe that, you will change your whole personality profile as you're approaching these people. Now, how we go about this, what I'm going to show you is a high I/driver, high D kind of guy, right? You may not be that. That's okay, because the personality profiles tell us that about 3/4 of the population I'm going to scare to death. Right? Okay. And that's okay. All right. That leaves 3/4 for people like yourself that need a more calming spirit. So you need to adapt this to be a calming spirit, but I don't want you to adapt your mindset from you've got what they need. Cool. All right. Good. So, and Watts, I'll pick on John, and John, we don't have to role play, but you say, hey, thanks for coming on in. Yeah, feel free to step on in, take a look around. Well, what's this all about? What's a bank foreclosure? Well, bank foreclosure is kind of what it says it is. These people didn't pay their mortgage, so now the bank's taking the property back, and the bank is now the owner of the property. So feel free. By the way, just real fast, in case you notice, there's a RE/MAX sign out in front. Let me give you my card. It's Bob McDougall. I'm with Future Home Realty, and we're from different companies. That's just because I've learned, part of my thing is people tend to come to foreclosures more like you did, right? You didn't know what a foreclosure was. People tend to come to foreclosures more open houses than they do regular open houses. So it's a good chance for me to meet people, and I can share with them how I can help them. Feel free to take a look around, and I'll tell you all about this home and how the process works with the foreclosure when you're done taking a look, right? Boom, right? So they could walk around, take a look, and say, hey, so did you take a look? Yeah, great. Hey, what's your first name? John. Hey, John, Bob McDougall, like I said. Let me ask you a question. So what brought you in? I mean, are you just got nothing else to do on a Saturday, or are you actually in the market for potentially buying a home? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, where are you? Let me ask you this. Do you currently own or do you rent? That's a key question, by the way, right? Let's get that out in the open right now. Do you currently, because if they own, it's not a big deal. They could be looking to move up to a better home. They could be looking for an investment property. They could be, there's all sorts of answers to that. Or if they currently rent, all right, you know what, we just moved to the area not too long ago, and we're renting. Okay, cool, no problem. Where'd you move from? New Jersey. Great. What brought you down? Well, I had a job transfer. Already, I'm starting to piece some things together, right? That are there. Now, if at any point they get haughty on me, like, hey, look, dude, just leave me alone. You know, I just wanted to take a peek and I wanted to see what it's all about. I said, hey, no problem, John. All right. Have a great day. You always have that step back ability, right? So I just totally, hey, no problem. All right. But because, yeah, I stepped in. We're renting for right now, just kind of get the lay of the land. I said, great. So how you been? Did you get signed a 6-month? Yeah, 6-month lease. All right. Where are you in that process? We're about 4 months in. I said, great timing. So are you pretty secure that you're gonna want to stay here? Yeah, I am. Okay, cool. Listen, hey, you wandered in. Good news for you is that you just wandered into the right place. I said, I sell a lot of real estate, and a majority of the real estate I sell are from people that I meet in open houses just like this. And the reason I'm able to sell so much real estate is because quite frankly, I'm good at what I do, right? I found that people that come in, if they're truly looking to buy, they have a problem. The problem is they want to buy a home. Well, the good news for that is I have the solution, right? I've got your answer. But let me ask you a couple quick questions, and please don't be offended by this, but let me ask, you said you got a job transfer. What do you do for a living, John? Well, I'm an accountant. Okay, great. How long have you been doing that? About 7 years. Great. Let me ask you this real quick, John, and this is, again, kind of sounds strange. But if you went to work for 2 straight weeks and you came in the next day and it was payday and they didn't have a check for you, would you go back to work again? It's like, what are you talking about? I said, seriously, I mean, would you go to work if you didn't get paid? Well, no, I'd have to go. I said, great. I said, I don't know if you know how real estate agents are paid, but I don't get paid by the hour. I don't get paid by the mile. I don't get paid by the number of contracts I write. I get paid by the number of contracts I close, right? And what I do is I've become really good at helping buyers like yourself buy a home. But to that end, since I don't get paid until we get to closing, it's a win-win, right? Because you win because you get to buy a home. I win because I get paid, right? But because of that, I need to know that there's a good chance I get paid, right? He's like, well, that's kind of good. I'm not so sure. That's pushy. I say, well, I get it, but just like you wouldn't go to work and not get paid, I can't afford to go to work and not get paid either. So because of that, I got 4 questions for you. Surprise, surprise. All right. And it's kind of a way for me to kind of determine where you are in the process. Let me ask you this, John. Have you ever talked to anybody about trying to qualify for have you ever owned property before? No, never owned. Great. Have you ever talked to anybody about trying to qualify for a mortgage? No. All right. Let me ask you, okay, continue on. Would you be willing to meet with one of my lenders, even over the phone, to discuss your ability to get a mortgage? Because quite frankly, if we can't get that covered, then we don't need to go on any further. Or if there are some problems, we can put you in a process and put you in a program that will help you get to that stage. Fair enough? Fair enough. All right, good. All right, so yes, the answer is yes. I would nod. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. All right, if he says, well, I'm not so sure. Hey, look, I get it. But quite frankly, unless we can know we got the money covered, it doesn't matter. You can want to buy a home all you want, but if we can't get to the end, we need to know where we are in that process. So it's a pretty important question for me. So if you're willing to check it out, then we're good to go there. Let me ask you the second thing, if you're willing to go. Second thing is, John, are you going to, how do I put it? Are you realistic in your expectations? I mean, because I got people walking in here that says, hey, I thought a foreclosure was you could get a house for half price, or it was buy one, get one free, or all these other things. And the answer is no, you're going to pay market value. Should you get a better deal if it needs work? Yes. Can we get you into this home? I don't know. We may not be able to get you into this home, but I can find you a home that fits your needs at a price point that works. But are you going to be realistic? Because right now, and it's kind of a seller's market where we got multiple offers on a lot of properties. So if you're expecting to get 70% on the dollar, you're going to buy, it's just not going to happen, right? So is that, no, I'm willing to pay reasonable. Okay, great. Third thing is, I got to know where you're motivated. You mentioned you're about 4 months into a 6-month lease. If I could set up a deal where you could be prepared to move from your current end your lease in 6 months, which is 2 months from now, and be ready to roll right into a property, would that work for you? Yeah, I don't see why not, right? Then last thing is, hey, John, we talked about the fact that I don't get paid by the hour, right? Fourth important criteria for me is this, is that there are a million realtors out there. There are a lot of them, right? Do you know anybody in the area, or let me put, let me say this. If I'm going to help you get qualified, help you get realistic and make sure we show properties that fit your criteria and solve and overcome your need. And then third, get you in the process for 2 months from now, be able to move from a lease to the other. What I need to know is that somehow your mom isn't going to find some distant relative of yours that has a real estate license that says, hey, you know what, they should write the deal. Because quite frankly, I'm not going to make you sign anything in blood, but I'm good at what I do. And if you're in with me, I'm in with you. But if there's somebody that else is going to write this deal, I don't want to put in the work and do all the effort and not get paid. That's fair. I mean, just like you wouldn't do it. Is that fair? I think it's fair, right? Yeah, that's fair. All right, good. So as we start this process, just do me a favor, ask who would be the person in your family that would know if there's any relative in this area that has a real estate license. Oh, that'd be my mom. Okay, great. You promise that you'll call her, and then when I call you back tomorrow and we start doing all this work, that you'll let me know if that's the case. Because if it is, I'll give you my blessings and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm glad Cousin Eddie's ready to help you, and let's part ways now, right? But I just need to know it now. Fair enough? Fair enough. Great. All right, so I can do all this again, and because of that, I need to know that I call it loyalty, John. I mean, I'm going to work my ever-loving tail off because I don't get paid unless I do. But number two is I need to know that you're going to reciprocate that loyalty and that you're going to allow me to represent you. Well, I don't really know you, but I totally get it. Unless we're ready to commit there, I can send you a list, and if things change, you can call me, right? But if you want, if you're satisfied that I'm your guy, right, then let me get you a lender in touch, and then I'll get you a list, and let's plan. I'm going to book it right now. Let me get my calendar out. Let's plan it. It was Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning better for you to go look at a couple homes just so you can get a feel. Boom, right? Done. And I'm booking a meeting because here's what I'm telling you, Jessica. If you don't have another meeting booked by the time they walk out the door, you're never going to see them again. There's a 99.9% chance you're never going to see them again. That 0.1% means you got to sit 1,000, you got to go through 1,000 people before you find one. I don't have time or the effort to do that. Now, that being said, Jessica, I'm going to again pick on you directly. Okay, poke some holes in what I did and show me where you're not comfortable saying what I said. Hello, Jessica.
Yeah, I'm thinking. It's kind of silly, but I think the hardest part would be asking them to be loyal. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not silly. That's not silly at all because that's an odd conversation. All right? And by the way, I'm not trying to pick on you. I want to see you get better, right? And I want you to succeed because I don't want you to waste your time. Open houses, unconverted open houses are a waste of time. They better be producing transactions. And if they're not, we've got to tweak something. Okay? So I totally get that. By the way, anybody else can chime in here. Do you think this is going to take a little bit of practice before you get good? And again, your version of this. I'm not saying it has to be word for word and like I do, right? It's going to be your high C version of what I just did or your high S version of what I just did. All right. Anybody else give me some feedback? Naomi?
I guess just being that upfront with people that you've met for 5 minutes, that would be the hardest part. I usually do ask them if they have a realtor. I do ask them what they're looking for. I get their phone number or emails, but I've never tried booking another meeting in person that same day, which is a good idea. And I guess just asking them, yeah, like, will you be loyal? How, what do you do for work or things like that would be a little awkward for me.
Yeah, I totally get it. And if you put them in a position where if I get burned on a deal because they used their cousin or they ran into another open house after the fact and they say, oh, I didn't know, Bob, I really wanted to use you, but next thing I know, this is the house. And they said, let's just write it up. And I thought you were still going to get paid. That's not their fault. It's my fault because I didn't educate them. Right. So, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Right. But this comes from many, many open house sitting opportunities and me realizing that I was never going to see them again. Right. Unless I booked a meeting from a meeting. And so I was going to have the hard conversation now rather than never. And have this pie in the sky version. I look at my sign-in sheet and look at it longingly every day and stroke it and pet it and say, oh, look at this is my income that's coming. And the reality was it never converted to income, right? Because they never returned my call, or they found somebody else, or you know what? And if somebody says, boy, that's a little too aggressive for me, Bob, right? If the client did that, here's my answer. I said, I get that, John, but let me ask you this. When you want somebody helping you solve a problem, do you want somebody that's passive or aggressive? Right?
Bob, the thing that's important is I know you're working through the role play, so it's a little rough when you don't have a real person in front of you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really have a spirit of what you're doing. The important thing for people who are watching you demonstrate it is you're coming from a place typically where there's 3 or 4 people wandering around in this house. It's usually priced right and where there's a lot of traffic, even though maybe it's in really crummy condition. And you get into a state of mind where I got 3 or 4 people walking around here. I can only talk to so many at a time, so I'm going to try and get through them as quick as possible. If you're in a $400,000 open house in a gated community and you see one person, it's not going to work as smoothly as you had demonstrated. And so the open house you pick is critical to your mindset.
Boy, that is such great input, John. It really is, because that's where I'm coming from. And that you're exactly right. That is the mindset I'm coming from, because that's where I was. But to be sitting at a $400,000, listing when you've got cookies and, all sorts of, fancy teas to choose from and whatever you guys do. All right. That's one way of doing open houses. And you're going to deal with a different clientele there. Right. And so you've got to adjust. For me, and I get we want to be in the $400,000 price range, and you guys tell me, you guys are sitting open houses, I'm not. If I'm sitting in a $400,000 open house, 50% of the people walking in the door already have a realtor. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I agree. Whereas if I'm sitting in a bank foreclosure open house, these people are wandering in thinking, hey, I don't know, maybe I could. Hey, Ethel, what do you think? Right? And so the chances of me finding somebody unrepresented, and Naomi did say, hey, look, she asked if they're working with a realtor, which is a good thing to do. Here's my theory on that a little bit, is when I start going into my spiel, all right, if I start spieling them and they're like, hey, loyalty, if I get to loyalty, they go, no, I'm working with a realtor, they need to tell me. Like, hey, what happened? Why didn't you bring that up at loyalty time? Right? What do you mean you're working with somebody? I mean, only one of us, and you might even throw that in there, only one of us can get paid, right? So you might even make that part of your spiel, Naomi, is say, hey, part of that is either somebody that you're related to or somebody you're already working with, right? I don't want to step on any toes. If you're already working with somebody and they're good at helping you overcome your problem, right, and find a solution to your problem, then I suggest you continue to use them. But you got to be careful who you use. Not all realtors are created alike.
Especially not realtors that are willing to sit on a foreclosure open house. Yep. So if you're using this tactic, I think it's a good way to go to get a hold of first-time home buyers or people that are buying in the mid 200s and try and leverage that to other business once they become a customer of yours. But I do think it is more difficult when you're in the 450, 500 open house to convert people, because like you said, Bob, they're more likely to be represented, or they're just they're not first-time home buyers. They're more confident in the home buying process. Yep, they have a script in their head that they're working from, versus somebody who's walking in like, I don't really know what's going on with home buying, but I think I'm kind of interested in it and I'd like to find out more.
And and John, again, thank you for bringing that up, because that is I think it's critical to understand who your clientele is. And 2 points. When they come in and you're sitting in a bank foreclosure open house, in my opinion, I think you've got go-getter written on your forehead already. Whether they're able to say that or recognize it, in the back of their mind, like, hey, look, this person's a deal maker. Right? There's something's going, This is not your Jaguar driving, diamond dripping realtor that I read about. This is just an everyday normal guy or gal who truly, and so my spiel becomes even more believable, and to John's point, in that setting. right? And I like you bringing that up, John. That's number one. Number two, there's something I thought of that you brought up on being a foreclosure as opposed to a regular open house. It'll come to me. I can't remember off the top of my head. All right. So very good. Now, Jessica, you're going to have to adapt that. And let me ask you this. Would it be worth it to you if you could convert just 3 people in the next month from an open house? Would you be willing to pick a partner and role play with them every day until you get this feeling more and more and more comfortable?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a decision, right? It's easy to say yes. It's hard to do yes, right? All right. So but I'm telling you, if you can, if you've been having activity at your open house and people are rolling through, and to John's point, that's why we do some of these lower end. Oh, here's what the point that I was going to bring up. So after I began my career and started having success with this, right? Some of my business began to parlay into listings, right? So I'm dating myself a little bit. Back in the day, 1996, 1997, I go and someone now wants me to list their home, $350,000 home in Safety Harbor, which was a lot of money back then. All right. So I'm going to go and I list this home from somebody I met that's related to somebody I'd sold to and so on and so forth, right? My comfort level, and they said, okay, Bob, so can I expect open houses? I said, well, let me ask you this. Do you like open houses? Well, I don't know. We live in that place and I'm not so sure I want to put all the jewelry away every time and worry about who's going to be in my house. I said, you know what? Here's what I found. I'm not so sure that an open house is perfect for you. I'm willing to do it if you want. But what I have found is that most of the time, it's more of a, hey, I'm doing it because you want one, rather than I think it's going to be effective. What I found is most people in this price point are usually represented by other people, and they're going to find it in the MLS, set up an appointment to do it. On the other hand, can I tell you, do you remember who introduced us? Oh, it was Susan. Yeah, do you know where I met Susan? Where? At a bank foreclosure, a $68,000 bank foreclosure open house in Largo, right? And because of that, I meet more people coming through. Now, if you want an open house, I'll do it. I'm not here to tell you that's part of my job, and I'm happy to do it. But I think, I'll be honest with you, I got a better chance. If I can meet 30 people at a bank foreclosure open house in Largo, I get a better chance of finding a buyer for your home here in Safety Harbor at that open house than I do sitting at your open house. That's just been my experience. People say, what? I said, I'm here to tell you, if you want an open house, I'll sit an open house. But my use of time, to John's point, was better served sitting a foreclosure open house, meeting more people, and potentially meeting somebody who couldn't buy a $350,000 home in Safety Harbor, but had an uncle that could and was looking, right? I'm just telling you, that's the way it worked for me. And all I can do is share you with my experience. But I think sometimes we're sitting open houses expecting them to be magic. And I think the higher price point you get, the percentage of already represented clientele goes up. All right. Does everybody agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes we might have to take a step back in our minds mentally. Now, I'm talking to a diverse group here, right? I'm looking at people that have been in the business for many years and other people that have been in the business for many minutes. Okay. All right. So I can't say there's a one size fits all for everybody. But those that have been in the business many years say, look, Bob, I get it, but I've already got a pretty steady flow from my, but I'm looking at, for instance, Jill, if you don't mind me using an example, Jill is a very successful agent, but runs a team, and she's got some people on her team who need to go sit some maybe lower end open houses to meet buyers to get some clientele that they can work with that are unrepresented, rather than sit one of Jill's listings that's bringing in 3 people in an afternoon and all 3 are represented. Like, okay, that was great. Check the box, seller happy. My buyer's agent's ticked off because they're not making any money, right? And so there's that balance that has to be reached. And I'm just trying to maybe do a paradigm shift in our head a little bit about the reasoning behind an open house. All right. And the reason behind an open house is to sell a home.
And the other obvious evidence to that about working the lower end price range, even though none of us want to do it, is exactly that reason. Your competitors don't want to do it. They don't want to go out and show $115,000 or $150,000 house. But if you've got nothing else going on and you need to get in motion, then get in motion.
Activity breeds activity, right? And every transaction, remember this one, I like the power, actually I'll go 5. Every transaction leads you to 5 transactions. It's been my history that and it may not be this month, I'm talking over the next 3 or 4 years, that a satisfied client, if you take care of them, will introduce you to 4 others, all right, in the next 2 or 3 years, as long as you service them well and take good care of them and stay in contact with them, all right? But let me recap. The critical point, Jessica, is mindset. If I were you, I would write these words down. They need me more than I need them. And that's not, I'm not conceited in that belief. It's just that you have something, just like if I were going to go buy a new barbecue, right? And I went to like the schmancy barbecue store, not Home Depot. They don't know more about barbecues than I do. I've done more research than the guy who's trying to help me buy a barbecue at Home Depot. But if I went to a barbecue store, you would hope that I need them more than they need me, right? That I need their knowledge on what is the best barbecue to buy. It doesn't matter, right? Same thing. And you can, again, if you're trying to make friends, right? But if you're looking for a social club, do that. But if you're looking to sell houses, right, because you got bills to pay, then, and again, this is not, hear me on this. This is the 100K club, right? I'm talking about making money in real estate, not playing at real estate, not trying at real estate, not doing everything I can and I hope it works out, but my husband's got a great job and if I make some money, that's okay. If that were the case, I probably wouldn't sit a bank foreclosure open house. If I'm comfortable, all right, and I've got a steady flow of income from some other source, I'm probably not going to spend the time and effort to do it. But if I need to generate business yesterday, this is the first thing I would do, is what I'm describing to you right now. All right, and I would know when those people left and walked out the door, whether or not we're going to work together. I would. I know, and you guys like, I don't know if I can do it. All right. Here's the other thing. The beauty of what John described when there's 3 or 4 people milling around and you've got to, is that there are 3 or 4 other people milling around. Right? That if this person's offended by how you're reacting and so forth, hey, no problem. I wish you the best of luck. Here's my card. Call me if you things ever change or whatever. And you're going on to the next person and you're starting all over. And they're hearing you say, hey, I got 4 criteria that pretty soon. That's all it goes. Carolina, you got something?
I do. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Slur my speech. I'm getting my wisdom teeth pulled tomorrow. So
Nice.
crazy. 40 plus. Anyways, we won't go there. So I'm finding success, and God is good, in FSBOs. I'm converting them without
Nice.
not here right now, but so we have 2 right now that, we're getting, it requires a lot of follow-up, and I'm okay with that because
Right.
that's what it takes for me to start my career. Who cares, right?
Right.
But the problem I'm having now, and I hate using that word, it's not even part of my vocabulary or my mindset, is that I feel that in these particular 2 listings, we were able to acquire them maybe a little bit overpriced.
Hmm.
So for example, I have a house right now in Port Richey. We've gotten the client 2 offers. And I mean, when I tell you that I've worked to death trying to convince him that the point I'm making, the question I'm specifically asking Bob is, how do you deal when your seller's mindset is truly not there and they're giving you the listing, you're spending the money in the marketing, you're producing the traffic, and you're getting quality offers. So where could I tweak, what do you recommend with that? Because I'm here to make money, like you said. I'm not here to have a listing just sit there for 2 or 3 months or whatever the case may be.
Give me an example. So where are you priced and what are the offers you're getting that you say are realistic?
So Port Richey, this particular property, It's listed at 139.9.
Mhm.
But the market has, when I first acquired the listing, I was very clear and I said your offers are going to be in the 130, low 130s, and that's exactly what the two offers came at, 130.
So he's holding out right now for the difference between 131 and 139.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm going to say this with love because I don't want to use age, but I'm dealing with a senior citizen.
Uh-huh.
Be very gentle in my approach, and I understand the man's mindset. It's like a respect thing with him, and I don't want to disrespect him, but I've had to basically said, these are the facts, Mr. So-and-so. This is what you're dealing with. I understand you put a lot of heart and soul in your property, but your block is calling for 130, not 139.9.
Right.
And these are the offers that I'm able to produce for you. So how do you address that? Today, we just countered at 136.7. The agent very quickly texted me back that this is a big fat joke, more or less. And of course, I'm going to rise above that because I'm not going to acknowledge that type of tone. That's just me though. Right. So he's got to present that to his client and the client's going to have to decline the offer or the counter. Right. But that's what's happening with the FSBOs. And now sure. I have another one in Wesley Chapel in Union Park. $319,000 is what the listed price is. But truly, that house is going to sell at $305,000. We've had a lot of hits. We haven't had our first open house yet. We've had a lot of, activity on Zillow where you see 180, 185 people. There's been about 11 saves, but no one has requested an appointment, which tells me that obviously our home is overpriced.
Right. So, Let me turn it over to, because I've got an idea, but I'd rather you hear from anybody. Want to jump on this one?
Well, I can tell you the last 5 or 6 listings that I've taken, I've said to the seller, get an appraisal. Okay. And they look at you and they say, what does that cost? And I say, $400 and I'll pay for it at closing. Okay. And they say, oh, you'll pay for it? And I say, yeah, sure. And it has worked out to be a very effective strategy for me personally. It only bit me one time where the lender's appraiser came in lower than the appraisal that we got pre-listing. But that has been effective for me, and I like the strategy quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
So what he does is he says, hey, Mr. Jones, all right, I get that. Majority, probably 90% of the people buying your home, especially in the 139 range, are going to be, unless they're an investor, are going to be financing. So we're going to have to deal with an appraisal situation anyway. So why don't we get an appraisal on the front side? Cost you $400. We'll get a nice value. We always have something we can point back to. And at closing, I'll reimburse you that money, right? And so it's whether or not you'd be willing to spend that money or not. But in this, probably worth every bit of $400 for the frustration you're going through right now with him, right? Number one, if you can get him to agree to it.
But Bob, one step further I do than that is even if they say, well, what about a cash buyer? And I tell them, well, you'll get a cash buyer potentially, but if you get a cash buyer who has a buyer's agent like me, they're going to put a appraisal contingency in there anyways. Mm-hmm. So now you're looking for a cash buyer that's working with an unknowledgeable buyer's agent that doesn't know to ask for that. So the likelihood that we're going to have to be confronted with an appraisal is extremely high. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off now and see what we got. And I'll pay for it. You have nothing to lose. And I've really only had one person say, no, I don't want to do that. And they said, I don't want to do that because I don't want to see the appraisal because I think it's going to come in lower than what I want. And we had a laugh about it,
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, this is Joe. Sorry I was late. I couldn't find the link. When in a prior life, we used to have a saying that bad breath was better than no breath, and we found that's not to be true. Okay? We found that if you're chasing something that's just not right, you're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, and it's not going to, it normally doesn't work out. So sometimes when you have someone that's that obstinate, you might want to say, thanks, I appreciate that, but you need to find an agent that's going to do that for you. Otherwise, you're going to get crazy about this stuff. And I know it's hard to do. I know we're all trying to fish in the same big pond here, but it's sometimes you just have to say, that's the way it is, and you got to go. If they're that much where they're just never going to get close to what they want, let them sit in a FSBO market for 6 months.
Yeah. And here's where you are, Carolina. First of all, for me, let me make this statement. I have never, and it matters a little bit on price, but at 136.7 is what you guys countered.
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. And the offer came in at 131?
130.
Okay, 130. All right, where do you think it would appraise realistically?
130.
Okay, so you're way too close to let a deal die.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I even offer, the thing is, the margins on the commission are, I will admit, and I am not a proponent of reduction of commission. I will, but I've even offered, or I've suggested, I've done the number. The thing is, Alejandro and I are doing this together. So mind you, there's two people, and this is the problem when you do two people working.
Right, you start to split things. There's only so many ways you start to divvy up the one sliver of a sandwich. There's not enough to eat.
So at the end of the day, Joe is right, and I agree. I think I'm.
Feel free to sit down somewhere in here. He's going to be done with the meeting in a couple of minutes.
Oh, sorry. Hey, no, there you go. Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, so I'm not. I have in the past given up a portion of my commission to make deals happen. Like, I'm not that type of person to be that greedy. You know what I mean? But there's just not enough margin there with this. It's just, it truly is. You know, I can't leave making $500 or $700. I'm sorry.
No. Absolutely, it's not worth your time to do that. So I get it.
Can I throw something in, Bob?
Yeah, please do, Jill.
I think sometimes with sellers that are a little bit stubborn like that, you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper as to maybe why they feel like they need this extra $1,000 or $5,000. I feel like your deal is too close to kind of give up now. My first go-to is never to rob from myself first.
Yeah.
My go-to is never to say, well, I'm just going to give up then and give part of my commission, because we know we work hard for what we do. But sometimes, I don't know if you create, seller net sheets for your people, or I actually revise my seller net sheet as I go. Sometimes I do it as offers come in. I'll say, here, based on what their offer is, here's your number. Here's your profit. If we counter, here's your profit. And it sometimes allows them to, because they just think, I don't know, it sometimes comes down to something more than what we think. We might have to dig a little bit deeper. Do they actually owe that amount? Well, then that's a different story. But if they're being stubborn and, Aunt Joe said that their home is worth this, and so they have to get that, what? I feel like sometimes there might be some other reasons for why they're pushing for this number that may seem a little unrealistic. Or the other thing I was going to say is, sometimes I have the conversation with the buyer's agent and I say, hey, I am aware that this home may be slightly overpriced. I say it. Mm-hmm. If you have an appraisal contingency built into this contract or this offer, can we agree to the 137 price or whatever it is, 136 price, and then we have the appraisal to back us up. And then I tell Mr. Seller, hey, the buyer is willing to, go to the 136 price, but we have to be realistic here. If the appraiser says it's worth less, then we have to talk about that. At the point the appraisal came in, we may need to drop it.
I lost her. Did you guys lose her?
No, I heard Jill. Thank you, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
The seller's net sheet, I do it 100% as throughout the process, and that's a great strategy. I think for me, I'm coming to terms that it's motivation, which is part of the 4, more or less, as to what Bob says. Motivation is key, and I think it has to do with original owner. I put a lot of hard work in this house, and I'm going to get my, X amount,
You know what, and one last thing, and I think I mentioned at the beginning, by the way, I have an appointment at 2, so I'm going to have to go here, and you guys are welcome to stay on it, because this is good stuff right here. This is how we help each other. I love this. Right, I really do. Here, sometimes, and he's a little older, so I'm not sure where he might be, right? But this is a good analogy to use. Whether you represent a buyer who isn't willing to be realistic in their offering price, or a seller who's not realistic in their asking price or willing to accept price, is, and Mr. Jones, have you ever bought a home, bought a car before? Yeah. Did you ever buy a used car? Yeah, I bought several in my life. Okay, great. How'd you determine what you were willing to offer? Was it, well, how did you come across that? Well, there's this thing, Kelly Blue Book, right, or whatever. I said, great, yeah, and I get that. And you know what? Even though we don't have a Kelly Blue Book for homes, All right. We do have appraisals and we have market analysis, and that's kind of Kelley Blue Book, if you will. And the reality is, whether it's a seller, just because you put these really cool spinner rims on your, Chevy Malibu, not every buyer is going to be willing to pay you dollar for dollar, right, of the exact cost of your spinner rims, all right, on this. All right. And so we have to look at the Kelley Blue Book and say, what is this? And that's why we look at an appraisal. And that's why I really think an appraisal will do us good. Plus, I got to be honest with you, if I was in the seller in this case, said in today's market, I can show you the average days on market is like 23 right now before we get a contract. That's the average. So the fact that we're this far into it and we don't have a contract, I like to tell people that the market will speak to us very quickly, and sometimes it screams at us very loudly. And what this market appears to be screaming at us is that the market is willing to pay right around that 130 range for your home. Now, sometimes that can be hard to swallow, and I get it. And I know we put a lot of love and effort into our home, but the reality is we got to cut. Now, or, hey, look, you know what? If you're of the opinion that I'm going to just hold out for my price, come hell or high water, that's fair. We can let this ride out, but I got to tell you, I can't afford to advertise and put a ton of effort into a home that I think is not realistically listed. Now, unfortunately, his pushback may be, why'd you list it in the first place?
Right.
That's a good question. Right? I mean, that's the question I would ask. Well, if you didn't think it was worth it, now, why did, unless you had the conversation, hey, look, I think we might be pushing price at 139, but I'm willing to try it for 2 or 3 weeks. But if we aren't getting the response we want, then we have something in writing here that we agree to start to lower the price and revisit price every 2 or 3 weeks until we get to a
setting
point that we think it's
expectations with them all along the way. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Fair
guys.
enough.
Yep. Totally fair enough. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Awesome.
And girls.
And guys, I apologize. I'm going to have to run. Do you guys want me to leave it open and let you guys talk, or are you guys done?
We're done. We're good.
I think we're good.
Good. Jessica?
I'm good. Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. And are you good with how you're going to do it?
Yes.
100%?
I'll try it.
Convince me. You're not convincing me. Convince me better.
It's going to be hard. It's going to
I
be.
know it's going to be hard.
Hey, Bob, I know you got to go, but I have one more thing that may help Jessica.
Yes.
And, is one of the things that I find in meeting in those first conversations that I have with buyers, no matter where I find them, whether it's an open house or, an online lead, the main goal is to get an appointment with them. That's it. That's the main goal. And so I agree with you on the 4 points of qualifying a buyer, but for me, sometimes it's easier to qualify all 4 of those points after the second meeting. If that
fair enough.
So my first, and in an open house busy situation, you may not have time to have a 10, 15, 20 minute conversation. So the most important thing to me is to make that next appointment. So for the first question I always ask is, are you working with another realtor? Have you seen other homes? That to me is the number one qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have another realtor, I'm your realtor,
right.
And one of the things that my team uses is a buyer consultation. We don't say that robotically to a buyer, would you like to have a buyer consultation? But it could just be as easy as, especially for a first-time buyer, it's super easy to convert them this way because you say, hey, I know the process of buying a home may seem a little overwhelming. I'd love to take a minute and 30 minutes or whatever it takes to be able to kind of walk through this process with you. I'd love to buy a cup of coffee and maybe, do that. That way you get them scheduled for another meeting. Then during that 30 minutes is really when you can dig into some of these other qualifying questions. And hopefully by that point, you've built rapport more to where you're kind of earning their loyalty. And hopefully they're going to be able to be more loyal to you based on the fact that you've taken that time to do that, if that makes sense. It makes the loyalty piece much, much easier.
That makes perfect sense. And I could definitely see that working better for my personality type.
It works
for my personality type. It's that first meeting where you're building rapport. You're asking those questions to get to know that person, but ultimately, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we meet at Starbucks? We have a packet that we have that really helps buyers with charts and all kinds of cool stuff. And it's just a really good tool to be able to connect with people. You kind of take them out of that first high pressure, go, go, go. We're in an open house, or you're on the phone and they've got to go to work, or they have a kid screaming in the background. You schedule that appointment to where you actually can sit down and talk to them without a million distractions. And at that point is where you kind of qualify those other questions. And it's really worth taking that extra 30 minutes to do that. But ultimately, you want to just kind of get them by themselves.
I love that, by the way, Jill. And quite frankly, the key there, though, is that the appointment is booked at the open house.
Correct.
Right? It can't be, hey, look, let me call you and set up an appointment. We've got to, hey, let's get our calendars out right now. And do you know where the Starbucks is at the corner of, Highway 60 and yada, boom, yes, okay, perfect. Yep, I got it.
And even if it's when you're done your open house, hey, I'm out of here at 3 o'clock, or, are you going to be visiting some other open houses? Fantastic. I'll meet you at 3, or whatever. And then but yeah, the point is to just kind of get that quick relationship going. Do you have another realtor? No. Great. Let me go through the process with you. I'd love to share with you, what I do and how I can help you.
Awesome. Hey guys, here's the thing on this hour that we spent here. This right here is nuts and bolts critical to your success in real estate, right? It really is, because if you can get this down, that's why we spend so much time on it. If we can get this down, that we can come across as, hey, look, I've got what they need, but I'm going to do it in a way that presents well and that gives them a comfort level. After that, it's just a matter of doing the work, right? But you've got to have that down first. And I love having more of this. So we spent a lot of time on this. Let's do this. November is obviously a little busy for everybody. Just pay attention to the 100K Club. I'm going to take a look at the calendar and see when we can make sure we book in one more, ideally another 100K Zoom session before Thanksgiving, so we can follow up with some of this. And Jessica, do us a favor, keep us posted on your progress.
I will.
All right, fair enough. Everybody else, we're not here to ignore, but I hope everybody got something out of this. If you need something, reach out to me directly. I do have an appointment that's in the office here, so I got to run. Thanks for popping in. And if you need us, just let us know and reach out.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.